Hello, everyone, and good morning. We're here today to find out all about Facebook ads and how to grow your business. Please, Jordan, introduce yourself. I'm Rachel.
Hi, I'm Jordan. I'll be presenting today's webinar. I won't say too much because I introduce myself again when we do the actual.
No spoilers.
Yeah, we do the actual presentation. So.
Hi everyone, I'm Rachel. I'm a senior account manager in the social team at Annika. I'm going to help out with questions today. So if you have anything you want to ask relating to Facebook or even digital in general, feel free to put them in the chat and I'll just be in the background answering them whilst Jordan presents.
I just want to launch our poll, actually. I'll just read that out. It's just so we get a bit more insight and can help you more during the session. And basically, today's poll is asking, do you manage Facebook ads right now in your organization? And the answers are, no, I'm a total beginner and need to learn more. No, someone else manages this in our organization. Yes, but I don't know enough about them. Yes, but we use them with an agency and the budget is £1,000 per month. And yes, we do with an agency, but the budget is £3,000 per month. And yes, I do it in-house and wish to learn more. So I'm just going to submit that now. It'd be really good if you can answer that. And it's just interesting to learn more about you. And it really helps Rachel and myself out because we're going to be in the background helping out on the chat. And the last few sessions, it's been really busy, hasn't it, guys? You know, lots of questions coming through. So, yeah, looks like some people, so 36% are total beginners. So that's really good. We've got you covered today. A lot of people, 25% are saying yes, but I just don't know enough about them. And, 27% are saying they're doing it in-house, but they just don't feel like they know enough and they need to learn more. So that's really interesting because there's a lot of kind of scope of where you are. So thanks for answering that. We've had a few responses so far. Yeah, it's really interesting. I love doing these polls. Just also to let you know, like the video will be available later and on demand. Obviously, we have a lot of offers generally we like to announce at the end of the session as well. So it's always worth hanging around for those. But yeah, it's just really good to have you all here and just to see you all. I know it's been quite a frosty day in Lincolnshire today. I don't know what it's been like for you. But yeah. So we'll get going in a minute fully. And I'm really looking forward to this one, as I say. And I think, just the poll is pretty much, yeah, it's the same kind of thing. So people are like total beginners. People just don't know enough about them. They are using them. And generally people seem to do it in-house, which again is really interesting. It tells us a lot about where people are. And the thing is with Jordan, he just knows everything. So he's like the oracle on Facebook ads.
maybe lead ads, but I don't know everything else.
He's still the oracle. Don't listen to him. So yeah, we'll be starting very soon fully. And just I don't want to forget this. You will get handouts as well. So yeah. And can we just do a quick sound check? Just everyone just so you can hear. Morning, everyone. Conrad says it's frosty in North Derbyshire. Cold and sunny, Angie's saying. So, yeah. I've actually been like quarantining a bit in like a couple of rooms in the house to stay away from everyone. So that's always fun.
Oh.
Right.
Hard work.
Oh, no. So, yeah, where was me? Anyway, right. Let's get going. Morning, Dandeep. Really good to have you here. Morning, Mark. Oh, it's hotting up on the chat, that's for sure. Good to see you all. Okay. Morning. Hey, Oliver in Suffolk. Yeah. Oh. Okay, over to you then, Jordan. We're in the background. Rachel and I are totally supporting. So any questions, just fire them at us. I know Anne's lurking around as well, and she loves a difficult question, does Anne? So yeah. Okay. All right then. Handing over now. Okay, bye. See you in a bit.
Okay, so hi everyone. As I said a minute ago, my name's Jordan. I'm a paid media account manager at Annika. So I do both the paid social and pay-per-click, Google search and Microsoft Ads type stuff as well. So I get a bit of everything. So Annika have been around. I'm sure most of you have seen these slides before. Annika have been around since 2007. We currently have 27 crew and over 45 clients. And sort of our motto is no ego and no bull, which is quite nice, especially in an industry where a lot of people say that we say a lot of technical terms and don't actually explain what we're saying. So we don't do any of that. We keep it quite simple, and you'll see in this slide deck as well. It's all sort of simple. So if you don't know anything or you've never come across Facebook sort of lead ads before, you can sort of pick it up. So we're 15 this year, and when we turned 15, we decided that although we were sort of already doing this already, that we were going to target 4 key areas. So we're going to target sort of people within construction, people within STEM, local businesses, and businesses that sort of manufacture things in the UK as well. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to first start off about why you should be using Facebook ads. And then I'm going to sort of talk about how you sort of create a campaign structure. Then talk about the main subject, which is on Facebook lead generation, ads, and what they entail. So there's 3 types: instant forms, automated chat, and calls. Also really important, how to actually access them leads, because it's all well and good telling you how to get leads, but if you don't know how to access them, then it's sort of wasted. What we've learned personally within the agency in terms of when we've run them, what we've sort of come across, and then really what instigated this whole thing in the first place in terms of the iOS 14 update, and so the impacts and the other workarounds, one of which was on Facebook leads. So why should you be using Facebook? So as of July 2021, there's 51.15 million Facebook users in the UK, an increase of 2.62 million when compared to the previous year. The platform has 64% of the market share in the UK in terms of social media use, which is 4 times more than Twitter. 25 to 34-year-olds make up the largest group of Facebook users, and 13 to 17-year-olds make up the smallest group. So, if your target market is 25 to 34-year-olds, then, this is a platform for you. There's also a lot of people on there who are the older audiences as well. And then, although you can target the younger age group, you might, think this is sort of a negative for Facebook. You might think that, Instagram or, Snapchat or stuff like that might be better for the younger age group. But Facebook, also known as Meta now. So Meta owns Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp. So when you're advertising on Facebook, you do also have the option to advertise within Instagram as well. So it does sort of cover that lower age band. So campaign structure, the basics. So really, before you start anything, it comes to any type of marketing. You first need to sort of think about the marketing funnel, and this really helps you to understand, when you then start selecting campaign objectives within social media platforms, what you're actually trying to achieve. So you've got sort of awareness, interest, consideration, conversion, and then you've got sort of your loyalty. So I'll explain these a little bit more as you go through, but you can see sort of awareness, interest are sort of top of the funnel, and then as they go near the bottom, that's where they then convert and they actually fall through the funnel and become loyal customers, hopefully. Okay, so creating a Facebook ad campaign, there's sort of 5 steps really, 5 main steps. So you first select your objective, and then you'll be selecting your audience targeting. So if you're wanting to target females and males within Leicestershire, aged between 25 and 45, that's where you do all that sort of targeting. Or if they're interested in certain things, that's where you do it. Placements. So you can sort of select if you want to be on Facebook feeds, within Facebook Messenger, you might see ads in there sometimes. Audience network, which is all the sort of stuff at Facebook, can also put the ad on. And then you've got Instagram as well that you can select in there. So if you did want to promote across both of them, you would keep that placement selected. And then once you've done all that, you then select what your budgeting is, your scheduling, whether that's just a start date and for it to run continuously, or for you to select, a date range. So I want it to start on the 1st, I want it to end on the 31st, and I'm willing to put, £100 behind it for that date. And what Facebook will then do is sort of average that spend out across the month. And then finally, the most important bit really is sort of the advertising format and the creative. So that's where you do your ad copy, your links to your websites, your lead forms, your creative, your actual images. That's all where that's all your last step before you launch the ad. So within sort of most social media platforms, they're all pretty similar. But for this one, this is sort of a Facebook Ads Manager example. So you'll see they sort of nicely split it down into awareness, consideration, and conversion. So your awareness is getting your brand out there, effectively sort of making people aware, reaching new customers, and just trying to reach as many people as possible. And obviously with your targeting, you can reach the right people. And then you've got your consideration. So that's sort of driving people to your website, engaging with your posts. You might have an app that you want them to install. For example, if Uber were to promote their app, they'd want people to download their app, and then they might consider then using that app to book a taxi. You might be wanting to get people to view, you might have a brand new product that's out. You then do a video and get people to view that. So they might not buy at that point, but they're sort of engaging with it and they're seeing it and they're thinking, I wasn't aware of this and now I'm considering it. And then they might fall into that conversion funnel. And then you got lead generation at this stage. So this is, again, they're considering it and they're interested, and quite quickly they can go from interested to converting, or at least beginning that conversion stage. And then you've sort of got messages where you drop it into the Messenger part of Facebook. And then finally on the right hand side, you've got conversions. So you've got conversions, catalog sales. That's where you connect sort of a shopping feed into Facebook and basically promote products. You can also use catalog sales for remarketing, so you can sort of show them the product they viewed on the website and stuff like that. And then store traffic, again, you can have sort of a micro store on Facebook, and that's where you do that campaign. But obviously today we'll just be focused on lead generation, because all these have their own little nuances and different stuff. So it's always good just to focus on one and nail that one down. So these are sort of the definitions of the different things. So as I say, brand awareness to increase people's awareness, reach to show ad to as many people. And then you've got all the different stuff. So for example, the lead generation one is collect leads for your business, create ads that collect info from people interested in your product, such as signups or newsletters. So this will all be in the handout for you as well. So if you ever do think, I can't remember what Jordan said about traffic, you can come in here and you've sort of got the definition there for you. And the same again with conversions, which I've sort of explained, so I won't repeat myself. So this is sort of a little bit more infographic, a little bit more, imagery. So, your campaign is sort of where you select your objective. So for this purpose, we'd be selecting lead generation at that campaign level. And then you then move on to the next step, which is sort of the ad set level. So at the ad set level, this is where you select your audience, as I say, if it's at 25 to 44-year-olds in Leicestershire interested in biking or whatever it may be. That's where you'd put that targeting in. You'd put in sort of your date. So when you're wanting the ad to run, you might say, I don't want my ad to appear, within Messenger. So you'd exclude that placement. All them sort of things you do at ad set level. and then that sort of sets the precedent for what the ads are then targeting. So you can have at the campaign level, you can have a lead gen, and then you can split that into 2 ad sets, and one can be targeting people with a lot of these same interests, but they might be located in Leicestershire, and the other ad set would be the same, but it might be targeting people in Lincolnshire. And you can sort of split it out that way. And then that means that when you go onto your ad level, you can then customize the ads to refer to, say, Leicestershire, because every, you're targeting that ad set as Leicestershire. So all your ads can be Leicestershire. So yeah, as I say, ad copy, that's where you do your copy, your imagery again. So if you were targeting in one ad set Leicestershire and one ad set Lincolnshire, you might have a monument from Leicestershire within Leicestershire, a monument from Lincolnshire within Lincolnshire, for it to resonate with the person viewing the ad, if that's sort of what your objective is. And this is also where you can sort of do your lead form, you add it at the ad level. So what that means is that you can slightly customize it for every single ad. So you can sort of have an overarching lead form, but if there's certain ads where you want different stuff, different information from different ads or whatever it may be, you can do it at the ad level. I mean, personally, I tend to keep it the same lead form, the same across the ads with an ad set. I might edit over different ad sets, but within the same ad set, I tend to just use one consistent lead form. So the main part, so on Facebook lead generation ads. So sort of the main reason why you should be using lead ads is that they're native to Facebook. So they sort of stay on Facebook, and obviously, with like anyone, if you get someone onto your website, you want to keep them on your website. You don't want them to click on a link and go off your website unless it's onto sort of like a purchase page or something like that. And Facebook's the same. They want to keep people on their Facebook. So if they can get the person to take an action like filling in a lead form, and then closing that lead form and carrying on down the Facebook feed, and interacting with different ads and clicking on other ads and that sort of thing, they'd rather you do that than trying to get people off your website onto your own website. There is obviously a lot of campaigns can do that, but you tend to see that Facebook does like and does prioritize trying to keep people on Facebook. So the engagement does tend to be high, because it's what Facebook does with lead generation ads as well, is it keeps it quite simple and refined, so that it pre-populates contact information. So if you've created a Facebook account and you provided your email address, you provided your first and your last name, all that sort of stuff gets automatically put into the lead form. If us as marketers are asking for that, we don't necessarily need to ask for it, but we can have them options, and they do pre-populate. So it's all about making it easier for Facebook users to inquire and stay on Facebook. Also, with staying on Facebook, the tracking requirements are kept to a minimum, because everything stays on Facebook, and it doesn't require the pixel, the Facebook pixel, to track and see what's happening when it goes to the website. And that's what a lot of the issues were from the iOS 14 that I'll touch on near the end of this webinar. So this was a main reason for keeping people sort of on Facebook, and it can seamlessly integrate with your CRM as well, which is always a good good thing to see. So this came about around December, I'd like to say, or I started seeing it on some of my clients in December, where Facebook actually added a new category to special ad category. So this is where effectively the main objective for Facebook behind this is that they don't want advertisers to discriminate against people. So what this meant for us and a couple of things we were doing in terms of employment is that we had to change our audiences. So what this effectively means is before we could target just males between a certain age group, whereas now we have to target everyone between sort of 18 and 65, whatever gender. So it sort of opens opens it up to everyone, and it creates sort of an even playing field as such. But you'll see a case study later on that actually it's not an even playing field. It's sort of skewed to one way. But if we'd have just targeted one gender, we would have never got any of the other stuff. So you sort of have to trust Facebook with it. And as I say, it was a recent addition of employment. So you've got the other things like credit, housing, social issues and stuff like that. So they're very sort of high risk subjects sort of thing, I guess, for Facebook. Don't want to discriminate, don't want people targeting people with credit issues or people, needing housing benefits, or targeting people trying to sway their political views or show them, political things they don't want to see and stuff like that. So they're sort of special ad categories. And I was skeptical with them to begin with, but actually it worked out really, really well. And you'll see that later on, just how well it worked out. So to say, the first three categories it sort of dictates the first three categories. So age, gender, and sort of postcode can't be targeted. So as I say, it opens up the age, it opens up the gender, and also you can only target sort of by county or by sort of town. You couldn't go down to sort of like LE16 7. That wouldn't happen. It'd be sort of LE16 or bigger postcodes, just so you can't target, I guess, areas where that there might be social issues that you can try take advantage of. So the fourth category, which is sort of social issues or elections and politics, is that you have to get the authorization in the country you wish to run the ads as well. So if you're a politician, you sort of have to get approval to say, yes, you can run them ads. They're not, they're not illegal or whatever. You sort of have to put, especially with them ones, you have to sort of put a disclaimer. Facebook does it automatically, where it says it's paid for by, and then it sort of tells you how that politician is being funded, how that, the ad spend for that campaign is being funded. Just to give a bit more transparency as well. So the first sort of lead generation campaign type of campaign you can use is called instant forms, and this is what a lot of people use, and this is what, when you first think of lead generation ads, this is what everybody sort of thinks of. So before creating the lead form, it's important that you actually make a couple of changes in the settings, because when you actually create a lead form, you can't then go back and edit it. You sort of have to duplicate it and then edit it again. So you can quite quickly keep on duplicating stuff because you keep noticing more and more issues. One of the big ones with this one is in the settings, it's not automatically selected. But you sort of have to select to allow people to share. So it says here, the first bit is content. So you choose more volume or higher intent. Now, there's not too much difference between them. There's a sort of a screen grab of it later on, and I'll sort of talk about the difference there. And as I say, the settings. So the big one here is that sharing option. So that's restricted. So only people who see the ad delivery can submit the form. Whereas if you select it to open, that's where, we had a client who their employees like to share the post as well, but they couldn't share it because we had it as restricted, because we wanted we wanted to be targeted on certain people. So this sort of opens it up to people sharing it with their friends and family and stuff like that. So the targeting becomes a little bit more grey. But actually, as I say, with the client, their employees were sharing it with people who were similar to them. So actually, it's even more targeted in a sense, which is just something to keep note of, because if you do publish it and then no one can share it and you want them to share it, you have to then redo the whole lead form, duplicate it and change some settings. So when uploading an image or writing the intro, you've got to really make sure that the image is relevant. There's no point doing something completely irrelevant if, for example, in this instance, it's probably not the most relevant. Join our free webinar every Friday. Could have probably been a better image behind. But if there was an image of someone playing football or something like that, that would be, even worse. So you got to make sure it's relevant. And also your sort of intro, it needs to sort of have a clear call to action and sort of explain to the person what they should expect from the lead form. What the end goal is. Fill in your details below, and a member of the team will send your details for the weekly webinar. So, you're telling them you want their details, and if they give their details, the next action is going to be you'll send you more information about XYZ. So that without that, they don't really know what to expect. So the next one is sort of custom and short questions. So this is sort of the bulk of an instant form. And it's really important here that you keep your questions aligned to your goal. It's really easy to go off a tangent and go, for example, in this instance, we want to know why people, what they hope to gain from the webinar, because that might educate us. Because if they're hoping to gain technical knowledge, if they're aiming to get industry news or whatever it may be, that really helps us to create webinars in the future. So that's a really important one. But you could quite easily here start asking really irrelevant questions because you think, oh, that'll be handy to know, but it's not actually paramount to the goal, which is trying to educate what webinars you do in the future. So that's sort of a custom question, and you can create multiple choice options. What I'd suggest here as well, if you do sort of do a multiple choice and it's not a clear yes or no, if it's then selecting an option, obviously you're not going to list every single option. You might list the two or three main ones, but you could also do sort of an other box for them to tick, and then follow that up with a short answer, which is, if other, please tell us below. That way you're not restricting their sort of feedback. And also that means that if people don't like any of the three that you've selected, they're not just going to select one randomly. So it sort of keeps the data reliable in a sense, because I know if I didn't have that other option and I didn't like the other three, I'd just click a random one, and that would just, wouldn't educate us on what webinar we need to do in the future. In this instance, we like to know what sector industry they operate in, the company name, and sort of what they hope to gain from the webinar. So you can either, I've sort of put it in both here. You can either do it as a custom one where you put multiple choice, or you can just do it as a short answer where they can fill in whatever they want. But that sort of opens it up for them to fill in absolutely anything, whereas you might want it to be, three quite concise options with that additional option. So as I say, we've kept it quite concise here. So effectively there's 4 questions there if you ignore the duplicate one. And the main ones on top of what we want to know about what they hope to gain. We also want to know what sector they're operating and what company name, because that might be useful if they keep coming to these webinars. It might open that door for us to have a conversation with them and say, look, we've seen you're really interested in our webinars. Can we help you? Can we do like a free audit or whatever it may be? How can we help you further? So it sort of, makes us aware of the people around. So the appointment requests is sort of a different section within that custom. So you have custom, you have short, and then another option you have is appointment request. So this is a bit tricky because you're not able to change the date or time availability within the form. So you can highlight sort of your opening times, maybe within your intro or at the end, to say, look, we only accept appointments 8 till 4 or whatever it may be. But it's not too good for that. And also from my knowledge in terms of how I've used this lead form with those clients, there's not a clear way of basically getting it into your CRM system and auto confirming that appointment. It's sort of a manual process of getting this sent through, and then someone then having to take that, look at the calendar and see if that slot that they've requested is free. So it's not the greatest. There's probably a little bit of improvement for it, but it is quite good for, if you're a salon, it's quite good just get people engaging with it and getting them leads in for people. You might be targeting people in Leicester because you're a salon in Leicester. You just want people to inquire, and you can go from there and say, yeah, I can squeeze you and I can't. Can you do this date? So it just gets people interacting. It makes it as easy as possible for people to, basically give you a sign that they're interested in your service. So the fourth sort of option you have is called conditional questions. So just one thing to note on here, you have to upload a CSV file into Facebook. And it looks a little bit like that example on the right. So you would upload sort of the column. So what would you like, a t-shirt or jumper? What color would you prefer? What size would you like? And then on the left-hand side, you can see that we've put them questions in, and then we can pull sort of the options from that CSV file. And what it basically does is if someone selects, in this instance, t-shirt, it will then just sort of do them t-shirt options. So then when you go down to the next one, you can have red, yellow. That's the only two options you're sort of given as a color. And then when you go down to size, you're given small, medium, large. So it sort of filters it down. So if someone did pick a t-shirt, they're not going to be met with the options of beige or black because they're only available as a jumper. So it sort of filters it down, and again, it creates that inquiry. So it's, they can't make a purchase with a lead form, but it's more inquiring. So it might be custom. This is not a great example, but it might be custom bits of work. If it might be a custom table you want, and it's saying, do you want it in oak? What style do you want, and stuff like that. And it will be very, very custom type stuff. This stuff would be more aligned to sort of catalog sale campaign. And then, as I said, Facebook sort of has this information when you sign up. So you provide them your email address, you provide them your name, you might provide them your number and your postcode. So if they do have all that information, they can sort of put that into this sort of pre-filled section. You can ask or not ask certain questions. For example, on here, you might only need their full name and their email address. So therefore, you wouldn't ask for the other bits of information if you didn't need them. But most of this should be pre-filled in. So it just makes it really easy for the person to fill in them questions we had before, which are really goal-orientated. Get to this stage where they just basically need to confirm that the details are correct, and you might let them know how. So here you might say, please check your details below are correct, or you might say, we'll use this information to send you a quote across, or whatever it may be. Just making it as transparent as possible as well for the person, to let them know what you're doing with the information, what they're hoping to achieve from this, and all the rest of it. And then sort of the fifth step is sort of privacy and review screen that they're met with. So what you need to do in here is you need to provide Facebook a link to your privacy policy, just so the person, the consumer, the customer has that option when they get to this stage to go onto your privacy policy and see how their details will be used if they're going to go to third parties or anything like that. It sort of, again, gives that transparency and gives the customer the chance to look at that before submitting their details. And then the last screen that you'll create for a lead form is a completion screen. So this is where you might thank them for filling in the details. You'll maybe navigate them to the next stage. So you might say, you can put a call to action at the bottom, and you can customize this call to action as well. So it might be visit, view our previous webinars. It might be visit our website for more information, whatever it may be. So at this point, you've now got all that information, and you can then move them onto your website if you want them to go onto your website. So you don't lose out on using this, because if you did a traffic campaign, you'd be driving people to your website. This way, you're sort of getting the inquiry, and then you're driving people onto the website. So the website page you're sending them to is probably going to be less likely to do with being conversion orientated, trying to push them to make an inquiry, and more just an informational page, which actually might be even beneficial to them. Some people do lead forms where you fill in the lead form and it sends you to a link where you can download a PDF. For example, Annika might do this for an A10 booklet. You give us your information that we sort of want, so we can mark it to you, for example, email address and your name, number, stuff like that. You're clear that that's why we're wanting it, so that we can communicate with you and give you offers and all the rest of it. And in exchange for them details, we're going to give you a free marketing booklet. It's a bit like when you go to the supermarket and you use your loyalty card. Tesco's, you get club card discount. You're with that acceptance that they can have your data and learn your shopping habits and all the rest of it. Another one that I've seen pop up is actually newspapers. The newspapers that have paywalls and only let you read one article a month and stuff like that. What they'll do is that they'll create a lead form, and they'll sort of give you the first paragraph of the news article, and that might really intrigue you. So you then go through the lead form process, fill in the lead form, and they'll send you the link, and you can view that full article for free. But what it also then means is that they know you're now interested in their news articles, and then they can then start marketing to you and offering you discounts, and sign up for 6 months and get 3 months free and stuff like that, because they know you're interested in. So it's it can be used in so many different ways, which is really good. So that was sort of the setup process for each one. So this is where you then end up. This is sort of what it looks like when it's met and shown to the person. So, for example, on the image 2, you can see that they're quite big, clear buttons. So it's just a case of clicking what one, and typing your short answer. Next button being really clear and blue, just basically easily navigating people through the process of filling in the lead form. This is where that stage of higher intent or more volume comes into play. So basically the difference is, if I just click onto the next slide, is that if you selected higher intent within them settings, your form type would be number 5, and effectively they have to do like a slide across the bottom to confirm that they've reviewed their information. Whereas if it's more volume selected, the customer is just showing image 6, where they just submit the form at that point. So it's just adding that extra step in to the process. I can't say personally I've seen the benefit of doing that higher intent review process bit, but I assume if for example you're doing these and you're finding a lot of people are providing the wrong phone number, or by accident or whatever it may be, you might put that review stage in for people to confirm that they're happy with it. And again, at this sort of just before they submit, this is where they're then given that privacy policy, so they can just double check if they want to how you're going to use the information before they give you the information. And then you're finally met with the thank you bit, and call to action in this instance is view our previous webinars. That's sort of how the instant forms work. So the next one is automated chat. So this is a little bit, it's one of the 3 options, but it's not currently available in Europe or Japan. So it's more sort of America. Obviously, this being an American company, most things start over there to begin with. So this isn't available, but if you were to be marketing for people in California or wherever it may be, you could potentially use this if you wanted to. So how this basically works is that you sort of send them a message. They can sort of message you, and you can create sort of an automated chat and reply. But a couple of things to sort of remember is, if the piece of information isn't critical to you, you sort of want to know it. For example, you might want to know what interests them about Anika webinars, but it's not critical for you getting your goal. Then you can sort of go into your advanced settings and disable or allow to skip certain answers. So this means that you can go through the whole point, and they can actually then still submit that lead in essence, rather than trying to create a pain point for them. So that's really important to think about, and it's all reflecting back on that goal. What's our goal? What's critical, and what's really good to know? And you might say, this is critical and this isn't, therefore this bit of information which isn't critical doesn't need to be in there anyway. So you just sort of have to keep that in mind. So here's an example. It's a lot more basic than creating incident form. So you effectively create a sort of an intro. So here you can also create, if we go on to the next slide. So this is where you can do like the error messages. For example, your email address is not sent in, like you sent is invalid and stuff like that. If, for example, they don't give you an email address. But this is how you can create an ad. So the intro, so hi, and then you can create sort of a dynamic insert. So in this instance, it was me inquiring, so it'd be Jordan. But if Sally, whoever inquired, you'd say hi, Sally, and then say thank you for showing your interest in our free webinars. Please fill in details below to get registered. You can add emojis in, you can add images in, you can add videos in, all within that sort of little square. You can see that's where you add it all in. So in this instance, we've said, hi, Jordan, blah, 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 and then there's an image. I've just used the Anika logo. And then you can see the first question here is about email addresses. What is your email address? And then it's here, answer validation. So that's where you then come up with that reply saying your email is valid or isn't valid. Or you might say the email address is important but not critical. Therefore, they can skip it if so be, if they don't want to give their email address for whatever reason. And then you sort of start the process again of creating your short answers as well. It's not in as much detail as the instant form, but you might ask questions like, what's your job title, company name, stuff like that. And then they just answer it with, either predefined questions, like predefined answers, or they just give you whatever answer, like a short answer as well. So here, this is where it's really important for that skip process as well. So here, we've asked them, if you have 30 seconds, please answer the next 3 questions, as this helps us better tailor our webinars moving forward. If not, you can go straight to completion screen. So here, we wanted them to sign up for a webinar. So it's not critical that they tell us, what they're sort of interested in, but it'd be good. So here they can say yes, and they can say no. And then you sort of have an option here where you can go, if they say no, you can send them straight to the completion page. If they say yes, you send them to the next question. And if, for example, you say the email address is critical, we need it, are you happy to provide it? And they say no, then it'd be sort of a disqualification. But you sort of have to use that very sparingly. An example here is if you required the person to be over the age of 25, if it's a HGV driver and your company could only have people over the age of 25, this is where you could then put that bit in. Because if it's in this sense, if it's employment, you can't target, going back to that special category, you can't target people with certain age groups, but this is where you might put in that little blocker, and you just explain why sort of they can't carry on with their process, and then you sort of have the completion again. And then the last one is calls. So this is the most simple of the 3, and it's sort of a very simple process. So you have your description, you have your headline. So in this case, your headline is we provide them for free. description, give us a call to find them. And then you've got your primary text, which goes above the image, which says, have you heard about our free webinars? And then you just upload a single image. And that's all you do with calls. And they can click on the add and call now. And that's effectively it. I'm just cautious of time, so I'm just speeding up a little bit. So this is how you find your leads. Again, I won't go into great detail, but here's sort of a step-to-step guide on how to find your leads within your Facebook page. So you'd look on sort of the left-hand column, scroll down, and you can sort of click through. And as you see, this is a bit what it looks like. So on the left-hand side, you have your scroll down, you see about a form library, and you'd click on that. And then on the right-hand side, you see all your lead forms. You might see that one lead form has got 10 leads in it, and you click that download button to download them within your Facebook page. The other way you can do it is through Ads Manager, which again, they're the steps to get to it. And what it looks like is a little bit like here. So your first step is to go onto your campaign level and select the campaign that you're wishing to download the leads from. Step 2 is to select the ad sets that you're wishing to download leads from. And then step 3 is you then go onto your ad level, and you can see here, you can either go onto your ad level, or you can stay at your ad set level, and you should be able to see this results column. If not, it'll just be a case of where that step 3 lettering is behind there. You can customize your columns and add in the results page. So this is where you'd click on that button, and you can download your leads from your ad sets or ads. And there you just sort of make sure your date range is selected, that the ones you want to do, and then just click download, and it will download as a CSV, I believe, for you to look at your leads. So you can also automate that bit of the process. So rather than having to manually go into Facebook, you can sort of link up your CRM system, so that leads get loaded automatically into software, or you can use third-party software like Zapier. So how this would basically work is someone makes an inquiry, and instead of it then sitting in Facebook or as Ads Manager waiting for you to download it every day or so on, it would then, you'd set up a Zapier or in this instance, HubSpot. And once that lead is submitted, it then triggers whatever software you're using to send that on. So in the case of Zapier, that'd be an email. So it then send an email through with all the information provided on there. So you sort of have to go into Zapier and create that automation yourself. I haven't sort of included it in here, but there is ways to automate it. And that basically means that it can get straight into your CRM system or your inbox for your sales people, and that lead can be worked on straight away. You can instantly contact that person 10 minutes, 5 minutes after they've submitted that inquiry, rather than 24, 48 hours down the line, where they might have lost interest, or they've found somewhere else, or they're disgruntled because you didn't answer them quick enough. So automation is really helpful, and I would suggest if you're creating multiple lead ad campaigns, or you're going to put a lot of budget behind them, to sort of try and automate that process as well. I mean, Zapier does cost money, but it saves you hours of time. And as I say, once it's set up, it sort of makes it really easy to manage. There's not one person have to go in and download everything. So it's sort of, again, it's put it here, what it is. I mean, in here as well, what you can do with Zapier, for example, is that each lead form, like when we mentioned earlier about there being one for Lincolnshire, one for Leicestershire, etc. Here you can create a zap, they call them, a zap for each location or each lead form, so that when the leads come through, you can instantly see, okay, this is from the Lincolnshire campaign, this is from the Leicestershire campaign, etc. And then instantly your salesperson knows, what area they're talking about, or if it needs to go to a certain salesperson and stuff like that. So it's really handy, this sort of stuff, whole automated process. You make it really simple to understand where the leads come from, how your campaigns are working, etc., without really having to go into the campaigns and download ads or see what campaign is generating most of your leads, if done correctly. So how can lead forms be used? So job fulfillment, I've sort of given some examples. If you're looking for whatever it may be, you know, a new hairdresser, or what, you know, for your salon, you could maybe have one to do with that job. You could be asking for a tailored, for people who are using a tailored quote. So here, you know, they're never going to purchase whatever it may be, but they're at the stage where they might ask for a tailored quote or price, and they fill in that information accordingly. And from that, you can then, you know, dictate what the price is going to be, given their circumstances and their requirements. You can offer something for free, as we mentioned, you know, the webinar, newspapers offering free articles. You can also use it for email signups or subscriptions. This is, you know, if you want to build your subscription list, this is another way to do it, and a really cost-effective way to do it as well, as you'll see in a minute. One of the examples. You can do it for surveys to get customer opinion, and this is where you might get them to fill in the lead form, and then at the end they might have a link through for 20% off discount or something, you know, as a reward for filling in them a couple of questions, because it lends itself to being quite an easy way to do surveys, because of all that sort of pre-filled information. And you can promote events. So this is where you can sort of say, okay, we've got X singer come in into your area. You know, we're not selling tickets at this point. We just want to get an you know, we want to see how many people are interested. And you can sort of gauge then if it's worth it, if it's not, if you're going to put it on sale. It sort of gives you a little bit of customer research without you know, going to the expense of trying to then instantly sell stuff to people. And it also creates that list of people that you know are interested, so it sets you, you know, one step ahead when you do go then to launch that comedy show or whatever it may be. So what have we learned? So it's a numbers game. So your lead on Facebook leads are quite cheap. They can be like £2 to £5. They can be even cheaper, you know, cost per lead. So it is quite a numbers game, and lead quality can sometimes be lacking, but the benefits, you know, are exceptional. So one thing that we've sort of learned is you've got to test multiple lead form variations. You know, you might do one audience with a long lead form, one with a short lead form, and test what, you know, how people interact. In one instance, for example, we found that making it really easy for the person to inquire actually just made the lead quality go down, because people weren't really assessing if they wanted it or not. They were just clicking a couple of buttons and sending it. So we've learned also you can do remarketing through lead forms, and these can be quite effective. So this is you know, for example, you can target people who have opened a lead form but not submitted the lead form. So you can sort of retarget them and get them to sort of finish their inquiry. As I say here, depending on their usage, short and snappy instant forms aren't always the best. So you sort of want to use this as qualifying not only if the person is, you know, the person you want, but it helps them to qualify if what they're inquiring about is what they actually want. You know, if you start, for example, if you're promoting a job and you start saying, okay, are you available between Monday and Friday? If you're, you know, are you this, are you that? It starts to get them thinking, do I actually have the time to do this job on top of what my other commitments are or not? Whereas if you just did a short and snappy one and said, are you interested? Do you live in this postcode? Perfect. They don't really have to think about if it's, you know, actually going to be the right job for them. This is, again, we learned the hard way. Manually sorting and sending leads is way too time consuming, and obviously as well, if you're handling loads of data, then the risk of GDPR and, you know, handling data and all the rest of it crops up as well. So it's so much easier just to automate the process as much as possible from Facebook to the people actually needing that information. Lead forms can be cost effective. We're getting quite a lot of lead forms in a short space of time. We've got a case study in a second, which will show you that. And again, lead forms can be combined with special ad categories that we mentioned earlier. And this has worked exceptionally well for some of the projects we've been on, although we were quite unsure about it. It's been very good. So we actually created a lead form campaign for D2N2, which was a free digital marketing training. So because it was to do with recruitment and education, we had to put it as a special ad category. We were told we could only target, I think it was Derbyshire, Leicestershire, Lincolnshire, and somewhere else. There's sort of 4 places we could target. So we instantly knew that was fine because we could target at a county level. And we also targeted people. So what's good with interest as well is they do give you sort of a list of bulked together interests. And one of them was digital marketing, but there will be ones to do with, you know, small businesses and stuff like that. So these audiences are, you know, they won't tell you what's within them, but they're actually quite good. You know, they do group it quite well, whereas you know, the traditional way would be quite intensive to go through and create these audiences yourself. So we ran that campaign 2 days before and 2 days after Christmas, and we had a total budget of £1,000. From that £1,000, we got 194 leads, the cost per result of £5.50 a lead. We reached 52,000. Well, just over 52,000 people, and we sort of served that ad, you know, 2 to 3 times per person, if not, you know, on average. So, as I say, 194 leads completed. 33 of the 123 enrolled before Christmas, and then 11 out of the 74 inquired after Christmas, completed after Christmas. Meaning that total of the 44 out of the 197 enrolled on the course. So, you know, conversion rate of 22%. So cost per enrollment of £25, which is very, very cost effective. The other way we could have done it is to create a brand awareness campaign or a traffic campaign, generated that initial interest and tried to get them onto the page for them to then submit, you know, a form on the landing page, and you know, that can be quite costly. Whereas this was very, you know, loads of leads. You know, some people just didn't qualify. I mean, I think I overwhelmed them to the point where they turned it off pretty much. They said,
yeah.
So it can be quite overwhelming. So you sort of have to have that in mind that, you know, if you do turn this on, you might just get loads of leads. So you have to keep that in mind, and you might have to keep turning it on and off to manage that. But it is really really good to grow your business. You know, can you imagine in 4 days getting 194 leads, of which 44 convert and say they're interested in whatever you're offering? That can be a real boost and help you grow your business. So just quickly, this is what it all brought about us, Annika, really using them. Before we sort of used them, but we weren't convinced. Whereas this was sort of out of necessity. We said, okay, let's give it another chance. You know, let's try lead forms again. And this was all down to Apple releasing the iOS 14 update, which turned off sort of the sort of identifier cookie for advertisers, meaning that we were really unable to track users' behavior. I mean, at the same time, they did a handy advert where they sort of put marketers in a bad light in terms of them all swarming around this person on their iPhone. But, you know, what that meant is that we couldn't really track them. We couldn't see what was happening. People were getting served irrelevant ads and all that sort of stuff. So it created a real mess for Facebook, and a real headache for them as well. So the workarounds that we found and what sort of Facebook provided in the early days were to verify your sort of domain or your website, configure 8 prioritized events. So this might be a purchase event or a contact us event, whereas before you could create loads of events. Here they sort of said, right, give us 8 and in priority order, and we'll do our best to say priority 1. If that's you wanting to track sales, we'll do everything we can to track sales. But you might find, you know, the 4th or 5th event, which is contact us, might not be tracked because we're focusing on the first couple. We sort of have to move towards standard events. So what you could do before this is have customizable events. So you could really customize what you were tracking, whereas you had to then go sort of towards these standard ones because Facebook could do them better. For app campaigns, you had to duplicate them. So you could have iOS 14 devices and, you know, pre and post. So you had to sort of create 2 campaigns. Re-engagement audiences. So this is where we had to start using people who had interacted with the Facebook page and stuff like that, because you know, all other audiences weren't populating because they just weren't, you know, people were opting out of tracking. So that really caused headaches as well. So we had to get clever and change the audiences and how we created lookalikes and etc. Conversion API, that's another sort of server, you know, going server side for Facebook, and sort of basically giving Facebook a better chance of tracking, rather than just using the basic pixel that a lot of people used before iOS 14 sort of came into play. And then the last one that we've talked about today is on Facebook leads. And hopefully you've seen just how good it is, and how it can help avoid, you know, maybe some of you experienced iOS 14 problems, and how it can actually, you know, dodge a lot of them. That's not too bad. 1 minute late.
Great. Thanks, Jordan. And just as I mentioned at the start, we have got a few offers to share with you all, which are definitely worth looking at. Just to send you this one initially. This is about our digital marketing survey, and there's an opportunity to win a £100 voucher or a 3-day training. You could also give the £100 to charity. We do this. We're real proponents in trying to close the digital skills gap. We have a lot to kind of offer in the area. We want to hear more about, you know, where everyone stands and their standpoints with digital marketing right now. You know, a lot of people have filled it in so far. We'll be sharing it with you as well. So, you know, we do this every year. It's really important to us. So it'd be really good if you can fill that in. And then also, I'm sure you're all aware by now, I hope so. It's our 15th anniversary. Happy birthday to us. We did have lots of cake last week. And because of this, we're doing a 15% off offer for training and audits, which I think is really timely if you think about it. You know, financial years, whether it's the end or you're just approaching the start, you know, it's a case of taking stock, looking at how you can improve your organizations and what we can do for you. So please feel free to get in touch with us. Ange Padfield's on the chat as well, and she's amazing, and she'll get back to you straight away. And then also, just as kind of, let me just find it. Yes, I found it now. If you could leave us a review for today. Obviously, very altruistic organisation. We put our heart and soul into these webinars. It'd be really good, you know, if you can just give us a review back. I know Jordan has impressed us all this week, and I've been blown away today. And there's been some really complicated questions and a lot of changes in the last week, which, you know, we've been facilitating on the chat. So, please, if you wouldn't mind, that'd be great. And it's just really good to see you. We've got a webinar next week. We'll be releasing all the information on that. Also, we've got handouts, so you've got that. Oh, and I think we've got reviewers on Google as well has just come up. So I think Anne might be lurking in the background sending me that. So if you could do that as well, yeah, that's all great. And obviously, this is pretty much the end of the webinar. We'll release, the video on demand later. You can catch it whenever you want. But please tell people about us as well. You know, we absolutely love doing these webinars, and it's just something we love doing. So, all right, I'm gonna close now. Just trying to get to there. But don't know if you've got any final words, Jordan.
No, just apologies for having to speed up, but I've
No, you did really well.
That you should be able to go back through them, and it's sort of a helpful guide as well. But yeah, you can always email me if you've sort of got any questions.
Yeah, and I know Rachel's put her email address in there, and mine's just Katie with an IE at hanukkah.co.uk. And obviously, I'm head of marketing here. If there's anything you need to contact me about, get in touch. So yeah, have a great weekend. Hope you're all keeping well, and we'll see you next week. Okay, take care.